Destiny 2 is in an interesting state right now. As a longtime player and fan, I am now feeling the temptation to step back into this game ahead of the new expansion that's set to drop this June. But that's not to say that everything is going perfectly in the game, and that's not to say that Destiny 2 is actually a bad game. I think that there are a lot of factors, a lot of, pressures that are put on various different gamers, namely content creators, that have them step away. But I thought it'd be fun today to jump into I quit Destiny 2 and learned something shocking by Ascendant Nomad. This is my first actually introduction to them. I've gone ahead and subscribed. I'm gonna go ahead and like their video as well. That way, that's just something I like to do here. And honestly, at the end of the day, one of the things I do want to say, if you are somebody who's a subscriber to me, A, thank you, but B, I've seen some people frustrated that I did a reaction to the truth about Destiny 2 and Bungie, and that was a members reaction video. I tend to put out member react videos on Monday as a part of Members Monday. But if you obviously want to see that content, come hang out on the live stream. We have a lot of generous people here in the community who gift out memberships on the channel, and every 25 that I get, I gift out 5 as well. And the idea is that to open up that kind of content to just everybody who's just hanging out as a part of the live stream. So anyway, that's just a little bit of a plug. Let's go ahead and let him take over and see what he learned. That was so shocking.
Recently, I took some time away from playing Destiny 2 because I felt burnt out playing a game that was stale, less than innovative, and, for all intents and purposes, largely solved. For the last 6 months, covering this game has been brutal. You all know the issues, I'm not going to waste your time rehashing them here. As a creator, I've got a front row seat to wider community sentiment in the form of video performance, streams, comments, analytics, and my own Discord. I've been here a long time, and I do not remember a time when it has ever been this bad. And rightly so. It was when the final shape was delayed that I started to mentally check out. I got my remaining projects done and logged out of the game. It's been exactly 1 month at the time of filming this video that I did so, and in that time I caught up with what everyone else has been doing. I played the finals. I played Halo Infinite. I aggressively spread democracy in Helldivers, though.
Very good choice, especially spreading that democracy. We gotta do our part, but playing other games is such a vital thing. And algorithmically, as someone who's a content creator, if you're not making content that your community doesn't want to watch, even if it is good content, YouTube ends up kind of suppressing it after you've got a level of establishment. And so just taking a look, yeah, he's over 100,000 subscribers. So it's that you got to know that things are connected into what they've subscribed for and what they're willing to watch.
Because I've been in Dubai for the last 2 years, I was a little fuzzy on the mechanics. I decided to log into Destiny 2 the other day to play with my stream viewers, and I learned something that I really wasn't ready for. My month away opened my eyes to some truths that I had forgotten, and some harsher truths about where I am in my world. I don't want to make this a bigger deal than it actually is, okay? I'm not going to be dramatic and say Bungie needs to do this or the game needs to change. I'm not going to make demands. I'm just here to document my journey. I'm here to tell you what I went through and what I learned, and what's in store for my future moving forward. If I end up coming off as preachy or apologetic, I do apologize. I'm still learning how to use my face 32 years later. The first lesson I learned from my time away was that games are meant to be fun. When you live, breathe, and sleep one game, you will eventually forget what hooked you in the first place. After a certain point, novelty is replaced by familiarity. The hardest parts of the game become familiar. Grandmaster Nightfalls weren't hard anymore, nor were raids. The only thing that genuinely enthused me was Trials, but with population issues and Middle Eastern matchmaking issues, I found myself spending more time frustrated rather than having fun. And when I realized that, I also realized that it was my cue to take a step back from everything. And I wanted nothing to do with creation for a while, because what kind of content am I going to create if it's not actively giving me joy? So, what did I do in the meantime? Well, I caught up with my backlog. As a Halo child, I went back to a much improved Halo Infinite and found myself spending hours in PvP. I don't know how or why, but it's incredibly easy to lose time to Infinite like the Halos of old. At least for me. The one more game feeling was back with a vengeance, and I could feel myself wanting to put time in and improve day after day. A feeling Destiny 2 has forgotten to encourage in its own player base once you're past a certain level. I felt like a teenager again, playing way too much and getting concerned texts from my family to see if I was still alive. And the answer is no. I was getting my head blown off repeatedly by the same Another game that gave me severe one more gameism was the finals. The idea of the entire game being a massive game show was such a breath of fresh air for me. The visuals and gameplay just hit right, even if it didn't feel as solid as my main game. Of course, the game isn't perfect and it has plenty of issues, some technical and some ethical, but the core offering is incredibly solid for what it is. And I also learned that I can't aim for shit and I suck massive horse cock. And because of the internet being the internet, I downloaded the democracy simulator Helldivers, a game where you're a pretty cool guy. You go kill aliens and you don't afraid of anything. And I ended up loving every second of my playthrough, even though this was so not my cup of tea at all. Playing mostly solo, it definitely seems like it's a game that needs friends to be at its best. Sort of like another live service multiplayer. Despite all of that, with Helldivers, I found myself invested in a world and a ridiculous scenario that I just wanted to come back to every day because it was just fun. Like with Halo and the finals, I wasn't immersed in their respective communities. I had no plans to stream or make any kind of content with their games.
I wonder how much of this is a kind of a cross of content creation, right? I have shared my frustrations with many games, and when you bring those levels of critique into that experience, you're obviously inviting a lot of people to share their opinions about it as well. And ultimately, at the end of the day, like, you know, I'm always like, does it matter? Does it do any good? And how can we put good out into the world so that people can, you know, learn, they can grow, they can do these different things. But when it comes to content creators, I see kind of a big difference, and where I get suspicious and concerned is obviously when somebody's making it their be all end all. I see a lot of people, content creator full time, sacrifice the joy of having a family because they have to play and stream and do the content to the point where you know, nothing else really matters. And that then leads into them putting in 50, 60, 70, 80 hours, being an expert, being the subject matter expert in that space. Then ultimately, though, feeling trapped by that, meaning, oh, I can't take a break. I can't step away. Otherwise, I'm going to lose all that I've built. I'm not going to be able to feed myself. Or if you do have a family, feed your family. Because there are content creators out there that have families. But I do think that when it comes down to it, there's a big difference between the top tier and you know, somebody who's, you know, in the 100,000 range. But I could be wrong. They got a sponsor on this video. I don't generally have sponsors, and that actually makes making these contents a little bit easier to do.
I played them because they put a smile on my face for the first time in a very long time. And after playing Destiny 2 for so long, I realized that it wasn't the way the game made me feel that kept me logging in day after day. What really kept me logging in every day was the memory of the first time it all clicked for me. Memories of my first PvP kill. Memories of the first time I got a streak in PvP. Memories of the first time I ever made a build and it just worked. Memories of great times with good friends. Powerful memories that I was desperately trying to recreate the feeling of with each play session. I was forcing the fun to happen, when the reality is that if something is truly fun to you, you'll know it immediately. And you know, sometimes finding the fun is just a small variation of a familiar formula, but other times it can require wholesale change. You could also get ideas and suggestions from other people on how to have fun, but you can also have the absolute life sucked out of you too. It seems that over the last few years, much of what constitutes Destiny community discourse revolves around the idea of potential and how it's being wasted. Everything in this game that you experience could be better. The weapons could be more powerful. The build systems could be more complex. The variety of the gameplay could be greater. PvP could not suck. And the noise from everyone about everything is deafening, especially if the noise itself is valid. The problems with Destiny 2 really have piled up to the point where it genuinely seems like it's the only thing people want to talk about right now. And as a creator who has contributed to that noise in their own way, it's been difficult to look at the analytics and come to the conclusion that being negative is one of the few guaranteed ways to put food on the table. I'm literally doing it right now with the title of this video. I helped make this reality. I helped make the bed. And here we are. And in life.
That's so fascinating in terms of just that that self-reflection that he's having here right now. Because yeah, like, man, like when you think about it, just the struggle of trying to keep food on the table. This is also perhaps the level of where the community, that's what they're hungry for, and you gave them that and they're hungry more for that. Like, I see this a lot. I see a lot of people who are enjoying Destiny 2. There are people who are still thinking, and you know, like when you step away from the game and you step back into it, you immediately feel just how fun it truly is. But from the algorithm and what, you know, communities or audiences are wanting to consume, that seems to be pretty standard across any live service game. Really, truly, it's wild. Anyway, but I guess that's the internet and that's the age that we live in.
Lying down in said bed, I found my own love of the game deeply affected. I brought other people's thoughts, opinions, and emotions into my escapism, and it turned what was previously minor apathy into full-blown disgust. Over time, I'd finish my Destiny 2 sessions in a worse mood than when I'd started. I'd let my love of the conversation and my need to be social turn me away from the game that gave me my friends to begin with. Now, I thought I was being soft, you know, letting video games and people's opinions about video games ruin my mood. But I realized from my time away that this was literally years in the making. It wasn't a case of seeing it once, twice, or thrice and being severely affected. I buried all of it, and it finally took its toll. I had to disconnect and walk away. And I did my best to enjoy the other games as a pure consumer, away from any discourse. I decided to play those games and enjoy them for what they were, not for what they could be. Of course, things got on my nerves a bit with each of these games, but I didn't feel compelled to complain about it to anyone. And after a while, I realized that my fun was lasting longer and my annoyances vanished quicker. And
wow, the idea of that I didn't have to make content around that, man, wow. Like, I hope that he takes this to heart. I hope a lot of people, anybody watching this or hearing this or seeing his video, whether you're watching this or not, kind of takes that to heart. That, you know, in terms of content creation, I get that a lot of people want to be the biggest, the baddest, you know, well known, you know, because I too, I really am looking forward to when the day I finally cross over 100,000 subs. Like, that just feels validating of the hard work and effort that I've put into it. And I have gone a different direction in which that I take my content and put it into different channels that channel has, you know, shared interests. Like the New World channels now, Ginger Prime Loves MMOs, which is going to cover MMOs. You know, it's New World, the new Lord of the Rings, you know, Throne of Liberty, things like that. So there's a lot of just kind of ways that I kind of divide the content. So algorithmically it works, and I don't have to sensationalize. I don't have to negativize. I can be happy and joyful. And I think that's one of the things I really enjoy about content creation, is that it gives me the ability to have that variety that gives me that excitement. And that's the thing I constantly tell people. Like, if I'm not, I will play and stream the game that I want to play and stream. Thankfully, I'm not married to that, you know, like the fact is, like, if I don't put out a video on X, Y, or Z, then the channel numbers are going to be down and the kids are going to have to, like, I don't know, not get snacks this week or something. That just seems like a weird thing, being that I have a job, and that helps out a lot too, that this isn't the source of revenue. This is just helping to fund the game that I'm working on and a little extra. So thank you so much for that support, guys.
this is the second lesson I learned. To really enjoy games for a long time in a really meaningful and personal way, don't involve yourself in the conversation around them. Now, it can be compelling to want to share your thoughts and experiences with other people. It's a very powerful feeling of kinship and camaraderie that comes with doing so. And it can feel nigh impossible to not do that, especially with how many games are integrated with social media these days. When you only have your own thoughts, it can be lonely. But when you only have your own thoughts, that's when they're the most pure. The only person's thoughts that really matter at the end of the day are your own. Mm-hmm. Most of us didn't start out hyper-connected. It happened slowly over time. We looked up guides or how-tos, we started watching one or two creators regularly, and as we became more comfortable spending time online dedicated to this game, we found a community or multiple that suited us. And before we knew it, we were making friends, or at the very least talking to like-minded individuals about this game. Other people shape our perspective as much as we help to shape theirs. But when the game's in a bad way, so is the community. And I'm not saying this to preemptively reject negativity or paint negativity as this bad thing. Balance is incredibly important for healthy discourse, and all of Destiny 2's criticisms are valid, more than valid. but you can't deny that it gets to be exhausting. And feeling this much negativity over a pastime, it just isn't worth it. Because whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, all of us are still here because we're all operating on a very basic subtext. And that subtext is, when all is said and done, Destiny 2 is actually a pretty good video game.
Yeah.
If you're new to this channel, you've probably just heard that line and thought, oh, here we go again. It's a bait and switch. It's a toxic positivity video. And I just want to reassure you that I am someone who has always and forever will strive for the middle ground. Where some cry wolf and bloody murder, and others paint rainbows and butterflies, I advocate for balance. After all, it's compromise that moves us along. And if you get that reference, I hope you have a wonderful night's sleep and you wake up with less back pain. When I say Destiny 2 is a pretty good game, everyone can point to something that works really well. The art, the music, the weapons, the gunplay.
The gunplay. Oh my goodness, it feels so good to shoot a gun in Destiny 2.
The abilities, even in their current fashion, the builds. The gameplay is stale, but still very solid. When your build works, you feel unstoppable. When all the right pieces line up, the PvP feels unlike any other out there. The whole game, in the right moments, delivers highs that few other games can reach. These highs are so good that it hooks us, and we spend days, weeks, or even months chasing that same feeling, hoping it's as good as the last time. And we all know this, and we are all addicted to it in one form or another. Even those of us that quit, we know how good it is, and we know how good it can be. It's precisely because it's so addictive that we quit, because eventually the highs wear off, or simply the time cost of achieving said highs becomes untenable, or more egregiously, our favorite things get taken away from us and thrown into a vault, never to be seen again. Taking a break and then coming back to this game.
The vaulting is still such a pain point and still so weird because it's not actively returning. And until it returns, it's truly vaulted. But in the meantime, they just deleted it. And that in and of itself makes Destiny 2. Obviously, I think the solution is a Destiny 3. I think a solution is them truly building something incredible to take the game forward for the next 10 years. But yeah, don't do that. Don't do that vaulting stuff again.
Reminds you of two truths. One, that Destiny 2's highs are still as potent as ever. The game's basics never really went away. We just built up a tolerance for it. And two, no game should ever be played with the intent of it being the only game. Moderation is the key to sustained happiness. It's fine to indulge in your preferred vices from time to time, but it mustn't ever become routine. Vices are called vices because of how tightly they hold on to you. That hold ruins joy and can turn joyous moments of escapism into a call for help. Being a player and a creator, that's what happened to me. My content became bitter. I became bitter. And I became a reason people didn't want to play. Either because I was representative of a jaded player base that wanted validation, or I was elaborating on all the different ways that it's gone to hell in a handbasket. I wanted joy in my life again, and quitting was the best decision I made in that regard.
Yes, me stepping away from Final Fantasy XIV, absolutely the best decision. It gives you such breathing room to A, go play some incredible games, B, I've been focusing on my health and my comedy career, and also on other games like New World and more. And it's been a real blessing to me. And yes, it cost me. And I knew it was going to cost me subscribers. But if I'm not willing to tell you the truth, then I don't deserve your subscription in the first place. So
I don't mainline this game anymore. It's now on a rota with all the others. I still enjoy the taste of this particular brand of dopamine, but now I know how much it takes hold of me, and I can keep it at arm's length. And normally, it's said that you should avoid contact with anything that can make you relapse. But that's when I learned the final and hardest truth. This game just doesn't hit as hard as it used to. I still love it all. I can still have fun in Destiny 2. But like I mentioned earlier, it's the memories that motivate me more than the game itself. In my 20s, I used to play this game for weekends at a time. I'd play with my clan for every activity, LFG for when they weren't around, and celebrate anytime someone cancelled a plan in real life because it meant I could fill that time with Destiny. Trials was my stomping ground, raids were my social spaces. Now, I'm 32 years old. The game's changed a lot. It's gone from a DLC model to a seasonal model to soon an episodic model. The story has gone from intimate and mysterious to bombastic and cataclysmic. The nature of the storytelling has gone from tight and rhythmic to sporadic and scattered. We all deal with change in different ways, but a cruel tenet of life is that as time goes on, the magic doesn't feel as special anymore. Be it through overexposure or circumstance, how you felt at 15 is more intense than at 25, which is more intense than 35, and so on and so forth. The only thing that's consistent through the ages is wishing you felt the same way you did in the past, when the flames burned brighter with more intent. With Destiny, I wish I still felt the same way about it. I really genuinely do. I still love this game, but time and circumstances have motivated me to be more efficient with my time. I don't have the luxury anymore of waiting for weeks to recapture the same feeling I did when I was 22 or 23, playing this franchise for the first time. It's time better spent actually living well. And Destiny 2 does not live well with me anymore. So, the final shape will probably be my last expansion as a creator, probably even as a player too, and I'm gonna sail into the sunset knowing full well that this period of my life was incredibly fulfilling, and I'll always be grateful to the friends that I made along the way. And even if I lose you, the community that stuck by me through all these years, or even a new viewer coming to the end of this video, I'll be grateful for every second that you stuck by me. You can find me over at Twitch, Tuesday to Saturday. But I'm not going anywhere just yet. I still have a lot of Destiny 2 content I want to make. After all, we can't go out on a whimper now, can we? And if you made it to the end of this video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. And thank you.
Guys, this was, I think, a really good video. Lots of really good lessons, especially if you're an aspiring creator or a content creator, or you just want more insight into kind of that mindset of what it means to do the things and create the things that hopefully that you guys want to watch. I thank you, especially if you stuck all the way through this reaction video, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. If you want to get involved in the community, check out the top link in the description to be able to get access to the Discord, the podcast, and so much more. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this. I'll include a link to their video in the description. Hopefully you go check it out if you haven't seen it already. Give it some watch time, or go weigh in on the conversation that he shared over there. And yeah, all that being said, guys, thank you so much for your time today. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video, but until then, take care.